Hello and welcome back to the course on blockchain. And today we're going to have an excursus into the world of mining pools. Let's get started. All right, so here's our network of miners, which we've seen before. We know how this works. They all churn away. They compete at that cryptographic puzzle, and it's more or less fair. It's a fair competition, and they can really get a reward at some point. However, as we saw from the previous tutorial, there are these huge industrial size mines with tons and tons of rigs who also join the network. So let's imagine that these two over here are actually were replaced by industrial mines. And so in this case, how is it that somebody can compete? When I have my tiny laptop or whatever it is, like a mining unit that I purchased, and I'm here all by myself, and then there's this industrial mine with tons of employees, with huge rigs and so on. It's just unfair. Like, my chances of solving a cryptographic puzzle before them is like 1 million to 1 trillion. There's no way I will ever find the golden nonce before them. And so how does that happen? Like, what's the point at the end of the day if there's these players? And yet, despite this, we've all probably heard of a friend who has a neighbor who has purchased a mining rig, and he or she is running it at home, and they are, very excited about it, and they're still doing it. So are their efforts completely in vain? Well, no, because after this started happening, or somewhere maybe before or around the same time, basically what was invented was mining pools. And now miners actually don't just mine for themselves, they enter mining pools such as like here and here. And what happens is these miners, they combine their hashing power, they combine their processing power into this mining pool. So now they all of a sudden they have more power together. It's very similar to a lottery pool. And what the mining pool provides is a service. The mining pool provides a service where the mining pool distributes the work among the miners in such a way that they're not doing double work. And this is a very important concept to remember, because there wouldn't be much point in a mining pool if they would all be solving, like attempting the exact same block configuration of that exact same nonsense. If they'd be doing double work, then what's the point of them combining their hash rates, their hashing power? So a very important service that a mining pool provides is it distributes the cryptographic puzzle among the miners. And how can that be done? Well, a very simplistic view of that is, we remember that there's the nonce that we're attempting to find the golden nonce by just brute forcing through the through different values of the nonce. So the mining pool can just say, okay, so I'm gonna give you, like, we're starting a new block. You're gonna look at the nonce from 0 to 1 billion. You're looking from 1 billion to 2 billion. You're looking for values of the nonce from 2 billion to 3 billion, and you're looking from 3 billion to 4 billion. And so the nonce values have been distributed among them, so they have enough nonce to go through, and that's it. And that's what they're doing. And then what happens is, as soon as one of them finds the golden nonce, this mining pool wins the reward and the fees for that block. And then how is it then split among them? Well, it's split proportionately to the hashing power that they introduced into the mining pool. So very similar to a lottery pool. Like in a lottery pool, if you put $10 in and this person puts $100 in and your lottery pool wins, then you're gonna get they're gonna get 10 times more than you will get. So if you get $5, they'll get $50, or if you got $500, they'll get $5,000, because it's proportionate to the amount you contributed. Same thing here, just the contribution is measured in the hash rate, in how much computational power you're providing to the pool. And so yeah, so that's it. That's all there is to a mining pool. It provides a service to distribute the computational power, and works exactly like lottery pool. And of course, it takes a certain fee for what they're doing. So mining pools are usually like a website or an organization. They all have websites where you can just go and download the software and install it. And also, in fact, mining pools do not discriminate. Anybody can join a mining pool, including these big industrial size rigs, which they do. And therefore, now it's more fair, right? So you have these large mining pools. You can switch around between the mining pool. You don't like this one, you can go to this one. You don't like that one, you go to the other one. And then we'll see their hash rates just now. You can see exactly what power they have. And then whichever mining pool wins, they split the fee. And the more power the hash pool, the more power a pool has, the more players it has. So the less portion of the fee, the less portion of the reward you will get. So it's kind of like a trade-off. So it's all fair. So there we go. That's what a mining pool does. Provides a service, first and foremost. But there's another thing that a mining pool is beneficial for. And that thing is they completely remove the headache from individual miners. And to illustrate the point, I wanted to show you something you can buy on eBay. Here it is. It's a cryptocurrency GPU mining rig for Ethereum, Zcash, Bitcoin, extras, and so on. And yeah, so what miners do is you can just go and buy one of these. You install it in your house. You choose a mining pool. You go to the website. You download the software, and then that's it. You install the software, and by installing the software, what you're doing is you're pointing this mining rig, which belongs to you. You're pointing its hash rate to the mining pool you choose. Like you can choose out of 3 mining pools or whatever number of mining pools. And because you choose one, you install the software, and that redirects all of this computational power to that mining pool. And that's it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to know how Bitcoins work. You don't have to know what a blockchain is. You don't have to know what a nonce is. In fact, my guess would be that a lot of the miners that actually use these rigs, they don't even know what they're guessing. They don't know that they're actually solving the cryptographic puzzle by guessing the nonce, because they need to find a SHA-256 hash, which is irreversible, and has that all those properties that we talked about. So yeah, and so it takes away all of that headache from the miners, and I guess in a way that's good, in a way that's bad, but it is what it is. And so before we move on from this slide, I wanted to point out something here, a little preview of what's to come, a little snippet of the future. So you'll notice here it says GPU mining and Ethereum. So be careful, these GPU mining rigs which you can get on eBay, they no longer work for Bitcoin. They only work for other big currencies such as, or protocols such as Ethereum, Zcash here, I'm not sure, it says Bitcoin Gold, I'm not sure about that, but this one for sure will not work for Bitcoin. The reason for that is because in Bitcoins now we have ASICs, which were introduced in 2014, and any GPUs are completely outdated now. It's like, I don't know, it's like going to war with a stick, with a wooden sword versus somebody who comes in with a machine gun. And we'll talk about ASICs more in the future in a coming tutorial in this section for sure. We'll definitely cover it off. But I just wanted to point out that this is not a Bitcoin mining rig. This is actually a Ethereum mining rig. Okay. And now we're going to move on to some examples. All right. So here we have blockchain.com, our lovely website where we go a lot of the time. And then if we go to charts here, let's have a look at these mining pools, right? Here, mining information. So if you go to hash rate distribution, you will see the hash rate, how the hash rate or the power to solve the cryptographic puzzle is split between the pools. So here you've got the biggest pools listed. So BTC.com is currently the biggest one. Then Antpool via BTC, BTC top, Slush pool, and then some unknown pool, I guess. Or maybe this is people just miners who are not in pools, or like the remainder of the pools, I guess. And then you got some more pools. So you can see that if you join BTC.com, they have 26.8 of the total hash rate, and this is in the past. I think this is in the past 24 hours. They have total of the 26% of the total hash rate of the network, and so they have basically a 26.8% chance of creating the new block. Antpool has a 14.7. Via BTC 11.2. So question is, why would you choose to join any other pool except for BTC? Well, same answer as before, that there is more players. This shows that like you have a fixed, you have a certain hash rate. You bring it here, you'll always get a portion of the reward proportionate to your hash rate compared to everybody else. So because there's already more hash rate here, so they have a high chance of winning, but you'll get a smaller hash rate, a smaller reward. They have a smaller chance of winning, but you'll get a slightly higher hash rate, and so on. So it's a trade-off, and you have to look at what fees they charge, what else, what other conditions they have about being part of this pool. And also you can, if you go just to data and you look at the blocks, you can see who mined their most recent blocks, right? So let's see if you can see that here. So you see BTC.com is actually mining quite a lot. You don't see Antpool here at all. They only come up here, but that's, it's game of chance. In the long run, according to the law of large numbers, if you take a lot of days, a lot of blocks, then those percentages will show themselves more accurately. Okay, so those are the pools. Here's a couple examples. So this is the website for BTC.com. By the way, I'm not advocating any of them. I have not used any of them. So it's totally up to the person who decides. And again, just you have to always figure out if Bitcoin mining is for you. And it's just interesting to look at. That's why the only reason, this is not financial advice. The only reason we look at them is because this was really interesting. New standards for mining services. It really sounds like a coal mine, a gold mine or something. Like they have mining services for miners. Okay, so they have some information here. You can sign up and stuff like that. There's Antpool. Again, Bitcoin, you see, click and start mining. And Slushpool. Slushpool is it's the world's first Bitcoin mining pool. It's actually in Czech Republic. This is their website. Just wanted to show you. So that's all it is. A miner just goes to one of these websites, download the software, and that's it, and they get started. That's as simple as. Oh, by the way, this is totally worth watching. These guys are from Czech Republic, but their AI, I think, has an Australian accent. So if you have a chance to listen to this, it's really funny. But I totally respect what they're doing. Just the accent. I was surprised. The Czech company, but with an Australian accent, and the AI. I might be mistaken. It might be like a different accent, but to me sounds Australian. Okay, and then I wanted to show you some other stuff here. So this is from buybitcoinworldwide.com. There's an interesting article here. Concentration of pools, and you can see that China has 81%, or at the time of the writing of this article, which was July 2017, China was at 81% of the hash power is in China. Then Iceland, Japan, Czech Republic, Georgia, India. Why China? Why? And by the way, so all these top ones, Antpool China, BTC top China, 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 China. This one was it Norway? Iceland, oops. Iceland, excuse me. And then /pool Czech Republic. So why China? The answer is, it's about the price of electricity. So all things equal, the price of electricity dictates where you're going to set up your mining rig or where you're going to have more miners. And in China, a lot of electricity is subsidized. In fact, I've read somewhere that it's speculated that in some places the electricity, what they call plants, they redirect their excess electricity to Bitcoin miners just so that it doesn't go to waste. And it's subsidized to huge amounts and so on. So electricity in China is super cheap, and that's why a lot of the mining operations are actually happening in China. In fact, people sometimes go from overseas to China or to countries with lower electricity prices just to set up their mining rigs there, because electricity is the biggest cost for miners, especially if you're going, full in. Iceland, I'm not sure. I guess electricity prices are also subsidized there. I'm not sure about that. Can't comment on that, but I know that about China for sure. So yeah, something interesting to know. So if you're planning on building a huge mining operation, always think about electricity, who you're going to be competing with, and you're going to be competing with where it's very cheap. But again, I've heard also that the government in China is becoming such a big problem there that they're considering of banning or putting some restrictions on how miners use electricity. So that's something I'll still look out for. That might completely change this chart if that happens. Okay, and this next one is just interesting. Bitcoin mining now consumes more electricity than 159 countries, not together, individually countries. So this is worded a bit weird. So for example, all of these countries, the orange ones, they use less electricity per year than Bitcoin miners use per year. So basically, an interesting example is that Bitcoin miners use more electricity than Ireland uses. Who would have thought? Thought Ireland was not that warm. Thought a lot of electricity was used there. But anyway, so these are the countries, and Bitcoin miners would be 100 and here. Bitcoin miners would be 159, so the other way around, so from here. So basically, I think there would be, it says somewhere here what place they would be, but they would be 61st. If Bitcoin miners were a country, they would rank 61st in terms of world electricity consumption. That's pretty crazy if you think about it that way. So yeah, so Bitcoin uses up a lot of electricity for what they're doing. So here you can see the countries where Bitcoin actually uses more. The orange ones, Bitcoin miners use more electricity than these countries. So it's a huge statistic, of course, and this brings us to the end of the tutorial. But what I wanted to share with you at the end is some additional reading. And the additional reading is this article called Bitcoin Mining and Energy Consumption. It's by Leo Weiss, I guess, on Medium. So again, the link will be in the show notes. In the show notes. It will be in the tutorial, in the course notes. So why I wanted to share this article is because it'll give you some good arguments, because this is a common topic for debate where people say Bitcoin uses a lot of electricity, Bitcoin is evil and things like that. And, as we saw, yes, it consumes more electricity in certain countries. Here he gives examples of how you can make it, like when you put things relative to each other, things might seem large or things might seem small. It's all a relative comparison. So when you here, he gives you some arguments where you can make it seem big, like we just did now. And then he also gives you some arguments where you can make it seem small. For example, Bitcoin uses less electricity than 17 NSA data centers combined. I thought it was NASA. It's actually NSA. Or, Bitcoin only uses 20% of energy of a single coal power plant in Taiwan. So when you put it like that, it sounds very small. So I thought it was an interesting comparison, and puts you, like, whether you want to be an opponent or a proponent, gives you some facts to deal with or some way to approach the problem. All right, so there's our additional reading. Hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, enjoy blockchain.